Hi, it's Jen from thebayhome.com, and today I have my special guest, Talia Farr, and she's from Canada. So do you want to introduce yourself and just tell us a little about like all that you're into with your Helpmeet Treats, and then just a bit about your family?
Right on the spot right away. Okay, so I'm Talia Farr. I am from Canada. I started really diving into home baking a couple years ago. I originally, when I got married, I went to hair school, so I had a career. Our kids were starting off in school, and I wasn't a good cook, so I realized that kind of needed to change when I was so overwhelmed with the thought of even cooking like a chicken. Like I had no idea. It's really embarrassing to say that now. But so over the last few years, I've really started to dive into cooking from scratch. And I'm starting to see that we were kind of lied to as a society. We're told that it's so much more too hard, but it's really not. And we've been able to find so many wonderful things to cook as a family, and so many nutrients dense foods just from doing it on our own. From there, I started wanting to find other ways to save money when it came to desserts and sweets. And my kids wanted me to try to make their birthday cakes one year. So actually my son's 12th birthday, he'll be 17 this December, but his 12th birthday was the first year that I made a birthday cake. And from there, it kind of just slowly progressed with my skills. And then eventually, I believe it was last September, I finally decided to do my own home baking business with cupcakes and cakes. And it did really well at first. It was really taking off. I had to take a little bit of a break because of a 2-year-old. She's pretty needy at times. So that's the blessings of being able to do it at home, is I'm able to just kind of take a pause when I need to. But yeah, that's really where my baking came from. And then I just slowly am starting to extend, different areas of baking, such as, trying to sell other things like brownies or shortbreads, which are very delicate cookies to make. But yeah, so that's kind of the nutshell of what's going on.
I love that. No, I love that, because I remember when I first got married too, I was married, young, and I didn't know what I was doing cooking wise either. Like I could do like the frozen, like pre-made meals, like just heating those up, and then like box food and stuff. So it was terrible. And my sweet husband knew how to cook more than I did. So he taught me like how to cook meat and stuff. And I actually learned a lot from him. And then I've slowly gotten better. Like, but he's still like, I feel like he can just pull anything out from the pantry and like just like whip it together. And I've gotten better at like learning that from watching him. Where like it used to be just like I had to have a recipe and I had to have like XYZ ingredients. I didn't know how to like substitute things very well if I didn't have that. And so I think it is something that's like, it's a learning process, and then it's just like a skill that you do acquire and you get better and better at it. And even like eyeballing stuff, I used to have to measure every single thing, and I still like to measure a lot, but like now I can be like, oh, just to taste, or just like to texture, even like when I'm making like biscuits or something, like it's easier like when adding the milk or whatever, just to figure out the texture. And if I go too much on the milk, then I can just add flour and stuff. So I think that's awesome though, how far you've come and just your journey in that. And just, that's awesome. So I think a lot of people, I had some people asking just about like kitchen basics. So like, what do you think is like the basic requirements tools wise, or like stuff like that?
So like food wise or like appliances?
I think both is what they were asking. So like, I'm guessing you'd say probably like measuring cups for sure, like for starting,
Okay.
or like a scale even, right? Depending on where you're at. I know in the US we rely more on cups, where other countries rely more on scales. So I don't know what your thoughts.
Yeah, I honestly have just forgotten to get a scale, but I used one a lot in the salon when it came to like measuring certain things like colors and your peroxides. So I do like scales. I just honestly, it's one of those out of sight, out of mind things. I have a whiteboard with like a ton of things, but nothing really gets done. So I would say I have my measuring cups. I would say I really like glass bowls. I don't really have a reason. I think metal bowls.
Health wise, right?
Oh, mainly, I mean, I tried to right away start with just the bare minimum things, and I've kind of gotten so used to bare minimum things that when I get new things, it's crazy how much easier it makes it. But I just wanted to make sure that I was always able to thrive with things that were really simple, that if anything happened, I'd be able to get my hands on, right? So just even simple mixing spoons. I really like wooden ones. I was gifted recently, due to my orders. My mother-in-law lent me her KitchenAid, and it's kind of easy life is with a KitchenAid, and I'm trying not to get used to it. But I like my buttercream, so I kind of use it for like cookies and stuff. But sometimes we'll just kind of put it away, and I get the feeling that I just kind of want to do it by hand again, because once you lose it, you kind of lose it. And there is something to be said about making, especially bread by hand. I find that I really enjoy. So yeah, basically just your measuring cups, your bowls, really whatever spoons you use, spatulas. Or I think they're called spatulas. They're get Canadian and American. We call things different things, so it's bizarre sometimes.
You're saying like a spatula, like a pancake flipper, right? Or no?
It's like the thing that
like rubber. Yeah, I think they do call it spatulas too. I don't know what I call it. I'm like the rubber scraper. What do you guys do? You guys call those spatulas too, though, to flip a pancake?
Yeah, I think I use that for multiple things, but that might just be a problem that I have.
I'm not sure. It might be a US thing too, where that's a spatula and then also the rubber thing.
I found, especially recently, because I've really gotten into more trying to bake as many things as possible from scratch without having to buy them, like even graham crackers. Like I tried those last week and they turned out surprisingly lovely. But I would say cornstarch is way more important than I thought it was. So I always have that on hand for so many recipes. Cornstarch, flour, yeast was something I was like terrified of until like 2-3 years ago. That's so incredibly embarrassing. I had a yeast in my cupboard that was like 6 years expired because I just never used
it. Yeah.
But like flour, yeast, cornstarch, sugars, butters, those are things that you can make an incredible amount of things that will stretch for so far, like so long. And baking soda and baking powder. But like with those staples, I find like I can even make homemade pretzels or buns or bread or rolls or wraps, like so many things that can take a small budget, really just like stretch it even farther. Because I even find like rice burritos or something big that I try to incorporate weekly, because it's so, there's 5 of us now, right? So I try really hard to like stretch that even more. But those are like my main staples. My husband would probably say that like chocolate chips are in the staples as well.
Right.
He's huge on cookies. So and oats, I find we make a ton of apple oat cookies, or just oatmeal cookies, especially I was a really picky eater, so these things are just so simple to make. They're soft and they're not full of terrifying ingredients that we have to be afraid of.
I think that's the great thing about home cooking is like you're making things from scratch, and it does save a lot of money, but also like the health side of it, of how there's so many less ingredients. Like if you look at a package of bread at the store, it's crazy what's in it. Like, and it's like, why does it have so much stuff, But if you're making it at home, and same with cookies and stuff too, And so I know my kids, they enjoy, now that they're getting, older, I guess my middle kids, they enjoy making oatmeal chocolate chip cookies all the time. And I'm like, this is kind of dangerous now that you guys are so into this. Because I'm like, yeah, give me the cookies. So no, that's great. And I just think that's wild that you are just now using a KitchenAid, because I rely so much on my KitchenAid mixer. And like, so that's awesome that like you're still doing things by hand and enjoying that process. I do have eczema on my hands, so I think that's also why I've had a harder time in my younger years, like doing more of that handmade stuff and kneading and stuff. But I do appreciate my KitchenAid so much. So no, that's great. So another question was, organic? Do you shop organic? And if so, what specific items do you like to use or like take priority if you do buy organic?
So definitely we do the best we can. This is something that like I remember when I first really started trying to do better for our family. I had myself so stressed, like I need everything organic, but then it got to the point where my budget was going to almost be like double what we even spent on the other things. Um, so like my biggest thing would be do the best you can with organics, but don't make yourself crazy to the point where now you're spending like hundreds of extra dollars and you're miserable now, and now you don't even want to do anything with it because it you can burn yourself out so easy with organic road. I definitely try though my best to do berries. Noah is obsessed with raspberries, so that's something that I really try, and blueberries as well, and strawberries for sure. I try to buy things when they're in season because that helps. I found this year, I found that I was kind of straying away from like pineapples and watermelon because I was even finding like the pineapple this year was really weird. Even my friend out west, Taylor, she said that we really like watermelon, and she said even her watermelons this year were just so weird. Like they didn't taste the same. So I didn't bother really with that. But I found the pineapple this year. Noah had a couple pieces and she started to kind of have a reaction.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, like I don't know if it was something to do with the specific pineapple, or if there's something in it, or maybe she's just allergic. I don't know. But I found that this year certain foods weren't tasting the same. So we kind of stayed away from those and really went towards, like I said, like organic blueberries. I'll do my best, and raspberries I absolutely try. But at the end of the day, you know, you can do what you can do. Your family needs to be fed, and hard, especially with Canada now. It's gotten it's well, I guess it's probably there too, but our grocery bill has sometimes doubled within the last couple months. This like crazy carbon tax and everything. So I do the best I can, and that's why we try to implement more things at home instead of okay, store bought graham crackers. We'll do our best to make our own. But I guess the long answer, I really try for fruit and whatever's in season, and just do not have yourself crazy stressed about it because you can only do what you can do, and there's no point of blowing your budget and being miserable and overwhelmed.
I agree. I agree. And I think it depends on like the season of life you're into budget wise, you know, like when we were younger and first married, we didn't make a lot of money. And even though we had less kids then like affordability wise, you know, and stuff. So I think sometimes you just need to say it's okay, you know, and we can just get food for now. It doesn't matter where it's from or whatever. And then if you do have it in the budget, then yeah. And there is like the dirty dozen list too. So people can look at that if you want to Google that online and just figure out what you would prioritize, you know, because there are different fruits and vegetables that when they are sprayed with pesticides, they I'm trying to think of the word. I'm like, they absorb it more, you know, and so you might want to consider buying those organic over other ones. I know like bananas, they say are more on the safe side where you don't really need to buy those organic. So something to look into for sure. And then another question was, so do you have any small appliances that you're like, you can't, like you wouldn't want to live without? I mean, obviously you can, but like, I mean, we talked
Yeah,
about KitchenAid a little bit, how you're like, ooh, this is nice, but
yeah. Um, so my mother-in-law will find me these random gems that you can find. You guys have winners, right? Like winners. Okay. So it's kind of that, except I think it's called Rossi. So she'll go in there and she'll find like these little hidden gems that are like 12 to $15, but they're so insanely helpful. So like one of them, it's like a little plastic jar, but you can put your own olive oil in and your spices, and then you just kind of press, and it will like create your vinaigrette for you or whatever it is. I don't like that's not, I guess, suppose not something I would be able to, I can live without that. But she got me this scallop potato peeler thing that you put your potato in and you press it down, and then it'll just like put your slices out. So you can measure the thickness that you want. So I'm starting now to make homemade potato chips. So you can make them like super thin or you can make them super thick. It's like $15 and it's something now, like we love scallop potatoes. It's one of my daughter's favorite foods. So that I really couldn't live without. And it's like so cheap. It's so like I would have never thought to buy myself that. But that's probably like one of the main things that I don't think I could live without. And it's probably pretty trivial to most people, but we are a big potato family. So like, and we go through, my husband loves potato chips. So that was another reason too, is now I'm trying to make our own potato chips. So it's going to be so handy for so many different things, and even slicing like apples or whatever else. And yeah, I also just got like a puree thing as well that I can take potato or tomatoes and I can make my own pasta or puree my own jams, which I'm going to probably try in the next few weeks for like spiced apple jelly my family really loves, and jams because we are a big jam family. So really simple things like that. Like there's nothing really like the KitchenAid, I guess, is the exception, but like everything else is something so simple that you can literally just go to like your local kind of like Walmart's, and I think the brand's called like Star Fruit or Star Fruit. And a lot of the things are like green and white is like their staple colors, and they're so cheap, they're so affordable, so unbelievably helpful when it comes to like preparing meals. So I suppose that would probably be.
No, I love that. I'm huge on potatoes too. I'm always saying like if I was only given like the opportunity to only have one food in my entire life and I couldn't eat anything else, I'd pick potatoes because you can make them so many different ways too and like change them up, and I don't know, I just love them. And I think that's a good tool that you mentioned. I also want to say about tools too, like I think it really depends on the space you have too. Like at my house before this home, we didn't have like a pantry. We didn't have a lot of like cupboards. And so like I tried not to buy, and like even like counter space too. So I didn't buy like a lot of small appliances or even like tools like that. Like I just didn't have space for them. But now that we're in this newer house and we have a lot more space, it's nice to be able to make those purchases and have those tools. And it does just shortcut things, right? And make it a little bit easier and make the process, even like with the KitchenAid, it's nice to kind of like throw the ingredients in for the bread, let it knead it while I'm walking away and like maybe prepping something else. And so I do love the convenience of stuff like that. I know the air fryer, I didn't know like what to do with it for a long time, but I actually have enjoyed even like cooking steak in it and stuff. Has been cool. And it actually like turns out really good. So, and it's quick. It's a quick way to make it up, so without heating up like the entire house or something. So, let's see what else. So people were wondering where you like to shop specifically. If there's like certain places you're like, oh, I like this place because of the quality or because of the cheapness or because maybe they have more organic stuff.
So we have here, it's called Avery's, but it's pretty much your Aldi's, I would say.
Where I live, we don't have Aldi's, so different parts of the state have it though.
So that is where we go through so many eggs, it's actually shocking. So we have to buy them like like there's like the 30 pack. So we buy those at, it's like I said, it's called Avery's, but it's a lot like the Aldi. The prices are really good. They come from local farms. I would say that's probably one of my favorite places because they also my husband and my son really like pepperoni, and it's really cheap there, but it's also good. You can kind of trust that. And a lot of the shopping, like for just like the main ingredients, such as like, like the baking powder and a lot of my baking stuff actually does come from Walmart, because the brands that I buy are the same even when I go to like Sobeys or Superstore. I never know what you guys have, so I don't even know what to compare.
I do have some friends in Canada too who will be watching, so it's all good.
Okay. Yeah, so they're just basically like large grocery stores. There's a lot of brands there, like I said, that it's more expensive at those versus Walmart, but it's the exact same brand. So instead of going there, and plus like curbside pickup is 2020 like really thought they hurt us, but they gave us curbside pickup and I can't.
That's funny. See, I hate curbside pickup because like I love the idea of it, but every time I swear my local Walmart, they are just they'll forget something, or like they'll tell me like, oh, we don't have that in stock. Like one time I put chocolate chips on the list and it was fine for them to substitute the brand. They're like, oh, we're all out. So then I go into the store after I do the curbside pickout and they have a huge amount of chocolate chips. I'm like, come on. But the idea of it, if they do it right, it's nice. Go on, sorry.
That just happened to me today, actually. Like, we got our grocery order yesterday, and they didn't have diapers, and I have a suspicion that when he goes in there, he's there now, and I feel like there's going to be diapers.
Yeah.
But it's the one thing I would say with the curbside pickup, that it's like, because you don't get to pick your own berries, but they're really good about like refunding here. So like, if I get my berries and I'm like, hey, these aren't awesome, they're like, okay, I'll refund you, and then I'll just go in and get more. But yeah, a lot of the stuff, like I said, because it's just your basic baking, and the brands that I know that they're going to be at Sobeys, but like Sobeys is going to be like $4 to $5 more. I'll just buy it at Walmart. But the other store, like I said, would be like the Avery's. It's like a little farmer's market, basically, where you know, go in and find just like the local vegetables and things like that. But those would probably be the two main ones for sure.
That's awesome. And then I'm just going to touch on a few that I do in the US for those viewers. We live 20 minutes out of town. And so the closest stuff to us, we only have like 3 or 4 grocery stores, and most of them are pricey. So Walmart is the cheapest. And actually, Walmart, I feel like, has a lot of good organic options. Like I'll buy my ketchup from them. And just, I'm trying to think of like other items, but they have some good organic items too that are cheap compared to other like stores. And like there's places that are like specialty, like Natural Grocers is one of them that's further away, and they're just so much more marked up in my opinion compared to what you can find at Walmart. And then I also like to buy our meat from like a local gal who has a farm, and she like gets it all butchered and stuff, and then you can go pick up your meat there. And then like same with milk, I like to buy the milk there and stuff too. So and then I also go to Costco. Like I try to only go like once a month. It's an hour away, but like it's just like one of those places too where it's like while I'm there, I'm like, I just want to stock up on stuff too, so I don't have to like come back for another month. But also just, you know, having a large family, buying in bulk, and then like they do have like good quality ingredients. They do have organic options. I was gonna say too, berries like and stuff. I like to buy the frozen bags there because sometimes like we go through like in a day we'll go through like berries, you know, if I buy just like regular berries. But like if I have the frozen bags, it's nice because they last a little bit longer in the freezer, and then like the kids can snack on them cold, or we can pop them into smoothies, even baking them too and stuff. So I like to get them frozen, and I feel like they're cheaper too to buy frozen versus not. So little tip there. Let's see, another question was, what things do you try to save on? But I feel like everything if you can, right? Like
I found milk is a touchy subject, I find, because I have been trying so hard to find raw milk, and it is illegal in Canada, and farmers are very hesitant to even talk to you about it. So that's something.
Do you have to get referred then by somebody else who's getting it?
I mean, maybe I'm still trying to find someone. I think it's like I'm gonna have to like go to the farm and kind of like approach them, and because I feel like when you call, maybe like they're scared that you like report them or something. But that's been like my main struggle. But
I know in the States, there's a couple of states that are illegal, and what they'll do is you have to like buy into a share, so you like own part of the cow. And how they get around it is like you pay like a monthly fee, and you own a portion of the cow. So it's not them selling raw milk, it's them selling a portion of the cow or something. So maybe look for a cow share. I don't know what they do in Canada.
That's a good idea, actually. Saving wise, I started, I think probably just when it comes to packaged baked goods, like that's something we can make at home. I used to be like, I used to really like going out to eat, but since I started like at home, that's a place where we like save a ton of money, because we don't like, if it's something that we want, for example, like crispy chickens, I learned how to make it at home, or hamburgers. We love them at home now. So that type of bill there is just eliminated. Like I don't even remember the last time we bought that food, but I try to save when it comes to, I guess, like the sweets. And no, I don't know. That would be it. I try with meat, but also like we eat a lot of chicken, and I find chicken is, I think it's cheaper here in Canada than it is in America.
Okay.
And or is it? It might be beef. We have like there's one meat that's like really cheap for you guys that like is really expensive for us. I just can't remember which one it was. Um, but no, I think like I said, other than just kind of like boxed things, there's not really anywhere that I'm specific, like really mindful, because you can't really do anything in other areas. Like you need meat, you need vegetables, we drink a ton of water. We used to buy a ton of bottles, but then we got like a filter. So I guess that was a good saver. Um,
Yeah, and like not buying soda and stuff is a huge saver. Um, I think my time's running out. It's telling me, so I might have to re-add you again. But yeah, I feel like, and like you said, like cutting out like packaged foods, junk foods and stuff like that is huge. I'm trying to think of what else. But yeah, I think those are all good points you made. And yeah, I was gonna say with eating out, like it's funny because I feel like the more that we've cooked at home and learned to cook at home, like even when we eat out, like I'm disappointed in the food there. I'm like, we could have made this better at home, you know? And so it feels like a waste of money.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is. I find like, especially fries, like once you make them at home and you figure out the way that you like them, there's just no point of even trying. Like I always ask the kids, like they can choose their birthday meal. And, you know, I'm like, if you guys want to order in or whatever, and my son is always like, oh no, homemade hamburgers, like homemade hamburgers for sure. As long as it has like 10 pounds of cheese and bacon, like it has to be.
That's awesome. I love that. So another question was, what is your favorite quick and easy meal? So I don't know if you want to cover breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or just dinner, or whatever you want.
Okay, so we do a lot of wraps. I love wraps. I find they go so far, especially if you're trying to make it to grocery day. I can buy a pack of chicken breasts for, I think it has 7 chicken breasts for like $21. And when I get them, they're huge, and I cut them in half, so I get 14. So with that, I can take literally 2 of those and I can stretch it to like 2 days of wraps, especially vegetables on the side. I was surprised with how far that will go. Like that's crazy. Mainly wraps for sure. Casseroles, I'm kind of having a hard time finding ones that last, especially with a teenage. You have teenage boys, you know what it's about. Like you can't. Casseroles are huge. I guess I would say like you could do large casseroles. With even just like macaroni and hamburger and some cheeses and a sauce. And you could always just make like a ton of homemade rolls and kind of like make them eat a ton of rolls and then like save some casserole for a few days.
And I'll just
But
do double the batch. I'll do 2 or 3 9 by 13s, you know?
that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, I would say we do a lot of rice dishes, like rice bowls, whatever I have on hand. Like if I just have ground beef that I need to get rid of, or just like some chicken. And I find like when I do that, I buy in bulk with the rice for sure because we go through so much. Um, but yeah, I think that would be like my most cost effective meals. I would really like to actually find some more of those. I was kind of looking through your channel and I was like looking at all of your Costco hauls and stuff. I still need, I didn't realize how important it was until like Noah was born, and then we were just, you're like cooking for a set number, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's another person who's now really starting to eat. So probably going to be my best friend in the next couple of years because it's
Yeah.
crazy.
You definitely have to be careful with Costco too, though, because like I don't go aisle by aisle. Like I make my list of just like what I need there, and like sometimes I will, you know, if my husband wants to go aisle by aisle, we will. But I try to just stick to my list because there are certain items that are better and cheaper there. But then like you have to be careful and make sure that you're actually getting a good deal there, because sometimes you know Walmart might be better or cheaper, but I do find the bulkness and the price and the quality is usually really good at Costco. Um, but as far as quick and easy, so what about do you think for like breakfast? And then do you do like leftovers for lunch, or what do you typically do for lunch?
So breakfast, my kids are really into oatmeal. Like, they'll put a little bit of cocoa, some brown sugar, their oats, and butter, and like they'll eat it literally every day. They normally end up actually eating it every day. Um, that's probably our quick breakfast. My husband, like he'll have something different. He'll have like a plate of eggs and spinach and cheese thing. But the kids really leftovers are definitely what we do for lunches, I would say. Um, Lunches are a lot more, they're not as organized in our home, especially because of where Noah's nap schedule falls. It's like right there in the middle of lunch. And when they're doing school, they'll do lunch, they'll eat lunch right after they're done with their school for the day. So they'll kind of have like a smaller lunch. So we're not super organized there, unfortunately. But the go-to would really be where we have it, like we have homemade bread. So they'll have um sandwiches, or if they had eggs for breakfast, then they'll have oatmeal. But I think oatmeal is kind of like the interchangeable one. Like they'll have that at any point of the day, and it stretches so far. Because I mean, each child maybe has maybe half a cup, and there's so much. Like
Yeah.
when I first homemade oatmeal, I thought that everyone needed a cup. So like my first was like, it was ridiculous. It was like the whole, you don't know how to make spaghetti for like 3 people. It's always like an army. It was kind of like the same thing. But I would say oatmeal is a fantastic one, especially like even health wise. Like you can put in, I like to throw like some honey and some cinnamon, some berries, even some granola if you wanted. We always use like some dark chocolate on the top. Like it's such a good interchangeable meal, and it's so fit. And that's what I really like about it is like if I eat oatmeal in the morning, like I can go until like supper time because it's so heavy, but it's so good of whatever you want to put in it. So
Yeah, and I love how versatile it is as far as like add-ins, like I know we would do oatmeal, peanut butter, and then like maple syrup and chia seeds, flax seeds. I'm trying to think of what else. But like you can even add like protein powder in it too if you wanted to, or cocoa powder, or however you want to like just I always try to like bulk things up and do those add-ins just to make it even more filling. And so I think oatmeal's a great one. And then I know we do Greek yogurt a lot, and like we'll have like granola in it or fruit. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, smoothies. Smoothies are a big one too. And smoothies are like a nice treat too. We have our favorite is like you do milk, cocoa powder, peanut butter, and bananas, and that's like a chocolate milkshake, and it's amazing. So
yeah, I never thought to even try that. I felt like smoothies are so for us because like I find like the fruit, I used to buy a ton of the frozen bags because like I would mash it up when Noah was really first starting like solids, but she was really into just that, and I'd mix it in her cereal. But then like the kids, if they wanted a smoothie, they'd use like the whole bag. So I would have to be like constantly buying the bags. But I even started making our like homemade chocolate milk that the kids just love, and it tastes like a milkshake. So it's super dangerous.
I was literally just looking up how to make homemade chocolate syrup today, like healthy chocolate, because I've done that like maybe once like years ago, but I'm like, okay, I just need to start making my own. So that's great to hear that you do it too.
It's so good. I can't remember what else there was because you said about the seeds. Yeah, super. They just make all the difference too. Like they would be very filling, and yeah, that makes sense.
Walnuts, and I know we did like shredded coconut before too in ours. So we just whatever we have on hand and whatever's there, throw it in there. And then I love what you said too about like kind of like cooking maybe chicken one day and then just kind of making it spread throughout the meals too. And I think anytime you can batch cook, even like if it's beef or whatever, like do double or triple the amount you normally would. And then even if you don't want to use it immediately, you can throw it in the freezer for later, but then it's already cooked and you can warm it up easily. But really like extending that meat throughout the week is kind of nice, just having it ready for lunches too if there is no leftovers, or like I don't know, like you can do spaghetti one night and then like the next night tacos, or with beef and stuff, and just kind of spread through, so it's nice. So can you give an example of a balanced nutritious meal that you can prepare from scratch? Say if like you've been gone maybe and it's just something that's like, oh, like this is easy to throw together and it's still healthy.
Oh, that is so often. Okay, so I always try to keep, I make my own hamburger buns and we make our own bread. So a lot of times if I know that we're not going to be like able to really like prepare something big, I always will take out some hamburger buns because they work great for virtually anything. You could even take leftover chicken, put them on gravy, or you could just chicken, maybe some mayo and cheese. Do you have a club? Um, Hamburgers wouldn't be exactly like the easiest route to go, or you could even do like egg breakfast sandwiches. Rice bowls, I guess, like I said, would be like the main go-to, even if you don't have like the rice wraps made. um, Anything with like rice or vegetables, even sometimes we don't even use meat in them because it's not cooked and we're starving.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think my usual go-to, like if I don't really want to like do like a ton of prep or something, is like chicken and rice. And I actually have two instant pots. And so I'll throw chicken in one, rice in the other, and then just steam some vegetables up really quick and throw, the liquid aminos or something on there. And so I feel like that makes up pretty quick. And it's also one of those things where, while the chicken and rice is cooking, I can walk away and like deal with stuff if I need to, which makes it convenient, but I'm trying to think what else. Pasta's really quick too.
That's true. I didn't think of. We eat a lot of spaghetti, and we make a lot of homemade rolls too. And I like to do sometimes garlic fingers, but that would require a bit more. Like with it, instead of like garlic, anything to do with like pizza and garlic fingers, we make it like weekly. We have pizza and garlic fingers.
Nice.
Hot too. I forgot about that. That's probably one thing that I can't really live without because that's so simple. Like I just throw everything in, go like all day, and then you forget about it.
And have you made your own pasta yet or not yet?
No,
It's on my list of things I want to try.
it looks a little intimidating to me. It's probably not as bad as it looks. I mean, I was intimidated by virtually everything when I started cooking. So I don't know, you have like a special attachment to like the KitchenAid and
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping to get it on sale like maybe over like the Black Friday sales and stuff. I'm like, maybe then, because I was thinking about it while I was pregnant, but I'm like, I am too sick and like not doing well right now to be able to even think about that. But I was thinking about it. I'm like, so I'll wait till after the baby's born and then I'll see how I'm doing, and maybe I'll get that attachment and try it. Because I think it does make it more convenient, easier than like rolling it out and stuff, but I know you can roll them out and cut them and all that stuff too. So it's not something that you actually need. um, so, do you know how would you adjust a recipe if you accidentally added too much salt or spice?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I mean, it depends, I guess, on what it is. So, like, if you're talking like something simple as like a gravy or something, I mean, you could always dilute, but I really don't know what I would do if I added too much salt. I guess you could. I don't know. I've got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like you said, it depends on what you're making. So, spice wise, like if it's like a spicy dish, like and it's just too spicy, like I know like whenever we make enchiladas, like if it's too spicy for the kids, I'll just like put some sour cream on that, like you know.
Oh,
Um, but and same with chili too. I'll have them use sour cream to kind of dilute that flavor, and help with the spice. But if like I was making pasta sauce and I put too much Italian dressing or seasoning in there, then I'd probably just add like another can of tomato sauce or something, or just make it a little bit bigger. And same like if I am making bread or something and it's too moist because I accidentally put too much liquid in there, then I'd add more flour. And if I put too much flour, then I'd add more liquid. So I feel like that concept would probably carry through to a lot of recipes as well. Um, do you know the difference between baking and roasting, and when would you use one over the other?
baking and roasting?
Yeah.
I mean, both are done in the oven, right?
So I thought that was an interesting question. I feel like roasting is more of like a slow cooking, right? Like,
Yes. Okay. So yeah, that makes sense. So like even, I mean,
so roasting is typically, from what I gather, lower temperature and longer cook time. So like a turkey in the oven would be kind of like that. And then baking is usually, I mean, depending on what you're making, but like if I'm making cookies, it's only 8 to 10 minutes at 350, and then like I don't know.
I do that with ribs. Actually, I'll marinate ribs for 24 hours in the fridge, and then I'll cook them. I can't remember how low. It's been a while, but I cook them for like hours in the oven on really low because I find it just retains obviously
Moist.
Yeah. So that's something I do. And plus like turkeys, oh, I'll be cooking one for Thanksgiving probably in a week. So that I guess
Your
I'll be
guys
doing
is sooner than ours. I always forget. Yours is in October.
the 9th, I think. The next Saturday, that is, we're celebrating it, but it's like that Monday coming. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so fun. Okay. Do you know the different fats? Like, so butter, oil, lard.
Hmm.
How to choose the right one for specific dishes? Like, how do you know which one to use? And I'll let you take that.
So I was never taught, like my grandmother is a fantastic cook, but she can't bake to save her life. My mom is an excellent cook and baker, but I've never been taught at all. So I figured that out on my own. She is shortening for a lot of things, but I've never used shortening. Use, um, I love salted butter and oil. I have a recipe for muffins specifically that actually doesn't use any butter, which is great because butter is insanely expensive. But I use either coconut oil, but I like 99% of the time I'll go for the extra virgin olive oil, and I use that in muffins, and I find it creates such a like a wonderful moist muffin. However, the butter, depending on I guess what kinds you want, salted or unsalted, it does add that bit more of a flavor. So mainly when I'm baking, I do lean towards obviously more towards the butter. But when it comes to like my muffins, I do find that that oil is really good. Cooking it on the oven is kind of the same. It really depends on sometimes even what you have, like interchangeably. Like tonight, I made chicken. I cut it up in strips, and I make my own homemade beef and broccoli sauce. So I like to like put the butter on the cast iron, and I really let it simmer. And I found tonight when I cooked it in the salted butter, it was so much more flavorful. So I probably will never go without doing that again. But when it comes to meats right on the stove, then I like to use butter. I don't really use well, because when we deep fry too, I obviously I'll go towards the healthier oils. Once you find really what's in vegetable oil, it's really hard to even go. Um, but yeah, I think that that's pretty much it. I mean, I with baking, I like salted butter too. I lean towards more towards that. I don't know if that's probably a good or bad thing, but I mean, salt is so. Even when I'm baking my cupcake, yeah, even my buttercream, I find I use salted butter. That's actually one of the reasons the stand mixer is amazing, because it has to cream for like 20 minutes, and you can't do that by hand. Like it's just not possible. But I find the flavor, it's so wonderful because it's not too sweet. It gives it like that perfect bit of like balances out with all of the sugar. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much my that's my explanation.
I think that's great. And I know for me, I kind of use whatever's on hand. But like you said, I don't know. I use avocado oil and coconut oil. And then butter, I use lard. Sometimes I have some on hand, sometimes I don't. It just depends, like lard grease, stuff like that. Um, and I'll use those more in like skillet stuff, like, you know. But the oils and butter, I feel like I are very interchangeable. Like, so whatever I have on hand kind of is what I use. And like for baking and everything too is great. So, um, let's see. Do you make homemade broth? And how do you like plan that out, I guess, or prep it?
So with my chicken the other day, I slow cooked some chicken the other day, and I had a red onion in the fridge, and so I cut up my red onion. I threw that in while it was cooking, and I use garlic with everything that's possible. Like, love garlic. Put some garlic in, and sometimes I'll put in like a couple pieces of potato. I had some broccoli that was about to turn, so I actually cut up the inside of the stalk and I threw that in. And I found that um, I normally end up making gravy because I fill my water so high, like my cast or my crock pot, so that way we can have a ton of gravy because my husband loves gravy. But lately I've been taking that and jarring it and having it in a broth in the fridge because there's a bit of a flu going around. But That was the first time I actually added onion in it because a lot of times I just keep it simple with just like the garlic, the salt, the pepper, sometimes green onion. And but the red onion this time I found really helped with flavor and it really pulled it out. And then I was able to take that and then I made a soup with it. So it made the world of difference, I found this time. But I did try to make my own vegetable broth. I was taking all of my kind of like trimmings from my vegetables and I was freezing them. And then I put them all in a pot with some water and it was so bad. It smelled so bad. I, yeah, so I've never tried it again, but like it was so bad. Windows open. My son was like gagging, taking it to the comp. I don't know what I did, but I've never tried to make my own vegetable broth. So it's normally it's normally just like whatever I put in the slow cooker. So like if I'm putting a roast in there, that's my favorite broth I find. Like from the roast, it's so flavorful. Um, just any type of meat that I put in there, I'll take the broth and we'll use it for soup or gravy. But the soups I find with the chicken broth is really good. But I mean, if you know how to make a good vegetable broth, you just go ahead and let me know because no.
I know that they've said like to use apple cider vinegar like a little bit because it helps pull out more of the nutrients from the bones. So sometimes I'll add a little bit of that if I'm doing like chicken, but I don't like to add too much because I don't like the flavor of it. So you got to make sure that you have like the right. I feel like it's easy, like what you were talking about the vegetable broth and stuff. I feel like it's easy to mess up the seasonings and that. Like you have to make sure you're adding enough, I guess. I don't know because I definitely had broths where it's like, oh, this is so gross, like you know. And so it's like, okay, let's put more salt in there. Like, let's try to like really make this better. So it can definitely be tricky and trial and error, I feel like. um, do you,
Don't like
oh, go ahead.
when in doubt, like when I first started making broths, like I was really intimidated. And I find like if you're literally just starting out and you're just like, I'm gonna in, I just put it in and I put some water in as like usually at least half, and then salt and pepper and garlic salt, parsley, and that's it. And then you know when it's done, then you have all that broth and it's literally like liquid gold. Like, but then you can do so many things with it. I think sometimes like in these recipes, they seem to just like overcomplicate so many things, and I feel like it's to just deter people from doing things on their own or to make these people sound really smart. There's like no in between to me. So I don't know. I just wouldn't want someone to be like scared to try these because they're afraid of like wasting ingredients or because they just think that they can't do it. Like it's really easy. You just have to try. And worst case scenario, add some salt and pepper. Like it's really
I know like when I was first learning to cook like that was a struggle. I remember one time I was making ground beef on the stovetop and I had an unexpected guest come to my house while I was making that. And so I walked over to answer the door and I forgot about it because she started talking to me, and then like I smelled the burning smell, you know, and I was just like devastated because I'm like, now we don't have dinner. Like this is all the meat we have in the house or whatever, you know. And so I think, you know, knowing that you are gonna have, you know, hiccups like that, and there are gonna be times too where you do walk away and you forget. So like if you need to initially set timers or even still like set timers, you'll forget about things and like yeah. So that's my advice. Do you use a thermometer to tell if meat's done, or how do you tell if your meat's done?
okay. So I can't explain it, but I don't use a thermometer. Um, ever since I was pregnant with my son Samuel, I've had this really weird ability to smell insanely. I don't know. So I can actually smell when it's
So
and like
a superpower.
or like I can smell things like as soon as they're open, even coming out of the fridge if it's expired. Like I just but like I normally I'll do a cut in the center to double check because you know it can fail you, but I can tell by the smell for the most part. Most people probably can't do that, but that's what I use. A thermometer makes sense though. I would recommend that.
And see, I don't have a thermometer. I've had times where I have had a thermometer, but I don't have it. It gets lost or broken or something happens. So I think so with chicken, I know if the juice runs clear, then it's done. And you want to make sure like if you do cut it open that it's white. You don't want red chicken or pink chicken really. And then red meat is just so you know, it's very dependent, I think, on what people like. if they like it medium rare and all that stuff. I like mine more on the well done side. And so, but my husband has gotten me to like it a little bit more rare. Not whole rare, but a little bit under well done. So I think it's just learning, trial and error, cutting it open. If it's not done with steaks and stuff or whatever you're cooking too, you can always throw it back in.
That used to really intimidate me with trying to like make like my own crispy chickens, because it's like I thought you had to cook the chicken at first and then do the dunking and stuff, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not supposed to. So that was really cool to me, because like you can't really tell even when you cut open at first, because like the juices and stuff. But a lot of times, like with just like anything on the stove, like I use cast iron a ton, and I find the biggest mistake that I used to make when I started was I was cooking too high. And so like it's like, oh, it's done on the outside, but then on the inside it's like raw, and you're like, hmm. So that would be like my number one thing, is just like cook slow and like take your time with it. But like with crispy chickens, I guess like that was something where, you need to make sure that your strips aren't like insanely thick, because that was something that I was really I could not figure it out for a while, and it was still pink on the inside, and then you're kind of wasting things. But yeah, just like not going too high too fast, and just like taking your time with it. But I think that is too, like if you're intimidated by that, that's where the crock pot is like your best friend, because
Yeah.
there's
Yeah. And I think I was going to ask too about like seasons. So really quick though, with deep frying stuff, I'm still intimidated by deep frying things. Like I'll be completely honest. Like it's been a hard like trial and error thing for me. And I'm still learning with that because it's new to me, like deep frying and stuff. So, and like, you don't want to get it too hot. Like, like as far as like my sister once, she was at my house and learning how to cook, and I was pregnant and napping in my room, and then my fire alarm went off because she thought she was supposed to boil the oil. And she was like trying to deep fry something. Anyway, it caused a fire that was in the pan. Thankfully, it didn't get our house on fire. It's one of those things like, yeah, you do not want it too high. So, and yeah, just that learning curve of just figuring all that out. But my other question, so seasons of life. So when you are fatigued, when you're sick, when you're tired, when you're pregnant, different things, what do you recommend cook wise? I know we talked about slow cookers are a great option for those time periods. What else do you think is good for that?
So I love what Jujana does. Mrs. Anderson, she just meal crazy, because then it's throw it in the oven. I have not done that yet, but I would say I'm really blessed because I have two teens. So I am a mess. I've taught them how to cook certain things, so they are able to pick up the slack. If for some reason it literally was just me, that is probably where I would fall on my rice bowls and or pasta, because it's more often than not, especially in the first year of Noah's life, there was no time for anything. Like baking for me was not an option. So a lot of rice bowls, teaching the children how to do like the basic meat. I mean, Kelly's a pro at hamburgers now because he just had to do all of it. Even breakfasts for supper are easy, because when it comes to like frying eggs and bacon and things like that, really easy. Worst case scenario, you have sandwiches and chicken. I mean, no one's gonna die, but
Yeah.
definitely just I try like something warm would be fantastic. But like if you couldn't do the crock pot or whatever, I think I heard, actually, I think it might have been Pastor Anderson. He was talking about burritos one time, and like rice burritos, and how you won't die if you eat rice burritos without meat. And I was like, I feel like I should try that. And then that's actually how it started, with just eating burritos like all the time, with like just whatever vegetables we had on hand and whatever else. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I think bean and rice and cheese burritos are like an easy go-to. And like, but I'm one of those people like I can eat tacos, burritos, and enchiladas like every day. And luckily, like my husband's that way too. So it's nice that we like, and those are quick. And I was gonna say too, quesadillas are a nice quick throw together thing. And if you have leftover meat, you can throw those in there too. Just, I don't know. So, but it can definitely be hard when you're pregnant and sick and all that fun stuff. Do you have, I'll let you go because I know we're at the hour now, but do you have any other things you'd like to throw in there? Any other really quick tips or tricks?
um I think keeping it simple, and I mean, like I said, I wasn't taught how to bake, and for a long time it really deterred me from trying, because there's so many things. Like I said, you have like the recipe page, you have like their life story, and it's like, these like specific little things that they act like you have to do, but you don't. Just start really simple, and then you just slowly add time, and like you become so confident so fast, and you just learn how to do things. It becomes just like muscle memory when it comes to certain food. um I mean, just kind of knowing your family, especially your husband's likes and dislikes with food, there you can really just kind of branch off that. I'm fortunate to have a husband who literally would just eat meat and potatoes every day. Like he's Irish through and through, like just potatoes all the time. But yeah, like just it's supposed to be something that we were given as a gift to really enjoy. And I feel like as women, we are just by nature wanting to be hostesses, and we want to create and cultivate these wonderful meals for our family and people that we love. And I think that we just need to kind of go back to the basics, and like start with bread and simple meals. And I don't know, at the end of the day, we're kind of just designed to do this. And if you just don't put so much pressure on it, and there's the meals that I was intimidated by, like an apple crisp at first, because I thought it was just so hard, or even baking your own bread. You look at these recipes and you really down and you realize they're really not hard to make. We're just being lied to. So we are just being deterred. And I get really stressed really fast. Like I'm kind of like a type A, where like everything has to be perfect. And I'm kind of letting that go and realizing like there are so many things to make for your family that are filling and they're so delicious. Kind of don't have to put so much stress on it. You don't need 900 different spices. And like you know what your family likes, and it's easy. You don't have to stress it. So that would be.
Yeah, don't be afraid to try, don't be afraid to fail. And I think I'm the same way, where I'll always like think that, oh, that's so complicating, and like I don't know if I want to attempt that. And then when I do, I'm like, that was so easy. Like canning, I'm learning to can, and it was so intimidating to me. And then I helped a neighbor earlier this year, like she showed me how to do jam and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is easy, like, you know what I mean? Like, and so we always, I feel like, overcomplicate things in our heads, and like when you actually do it, it's not that bad. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Cool. Well, tell us where people can find you online if they want to follow.
So I do have a baking page. I think it's help me underscore treat help
Yeah.
help me underscore treats. That would just be my baking page. There's not like a ton going on there right now because I'm kind of in like that off season of just trying to balance homeschool life and holidays and birthdays. And um but yeah, that would be where you would find me with my baking things. I was fortunate enough to do my first wedding a couple months ago, which was really cool. So hopefully that kind of keeps growing and expanding, and I have a local market coming up in a couple weeks. So that'll be really cool to be my first one to get out there and be able to sell some of my baked goods, which I literally couldn't even bake a cupcake when I got married. And now I'm making two-tiered cakes. So if I can do it, I am so convinced anyone can. It's
I love that. And then, so for people who are local to you, is that where they go to that page to order and stuff? Like,
yeah, I'm like I have a Facebook one, but I don't even know if it's really active right now. I'm trying to work through some kinks, something messed up. I was transferring a page to my new Facebook account. So mainly, yes, I would say my Instagram is where I would get the immediate notification um for orders. And yeah, that's about it.
awesome. Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate you taking the time, and I just loved chatting with you. So I appreciate it.